Conversations are key, conversations are key, conversations are key, baby. Today, our guest is someone who isn't just a name in the credits. He's a multifaceted artist whose passion and persistence have shaped a career that's lasted for over 2 decades. Honestly, I first crossed paths with him almost, I want to say probably about 20 years ago when I was at BET, interviewing him on red carpets all over New York City. At the very beginning, or somewhere around the beginning of both of our journeys, finding some of that old footage recently and sending it to him reminded me just how much evolution actually takes place between the start and the story. Since then, he's done everything from hosting some of the first shows on national television to powerful film work to recurring roles on beloved series, all while building platforms to help other artists grow. He's known to many for his portrayal of Damien D-Roc Butler in the biopic Notorious, and he's built a body of work that spans film, television, stage, coaching, and creative leadership, all rooted in craft and intention. I'm beyond honored to sit with him today. My guy, Dennis White, is in the building. Welcome to Conversations are Key, my brother. You ready to key it up with me?
I was like, who is he talking about? Yeah, man. That was great. It made me a little emotional, man.
Man, we just want to give you your flowers, man. You know, while you're here. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
Appreciate you coming through.
No doubt.
When you look back at that red carpet footage from almost 20 years ago, not with nostalgia, but with honesty, what do you recognize about yourself that's still true today?
That I made a point to myself that whatever city that I live in, I murder the city. I go everywhere. I'm everywhere. My name, my face, I just blitzkrieg the whole city. And that was during the time in New York when I was just in the trenches and just, I pull up at anybody's red carpet, whether you know me or not, I got something to talk about, events, politicking. That was my whole thing. And it started when I moved to D.C. When I first moved to D.C., I did that in D.C. I was everywhere. So my name rang bells in D.C. And then when I went to New York, same thing. L.A., like everywhere I go, I try and make sure I flood the city with my craft and my face and my energy.
That's dope, man. What part of the journey between then and now do people, they never ask you about?
The rough times, the times when I wanted to give up, the times when, like I had to do other things outside of acting. Like I worked at I can't think of the theater in New York, but it was a theater, famous theater. I had to wear the top hat and shit, and I had the suit on and shit. And, I was like, I got to get bread. I got to do what I got to do. I worked at an insurance company. I did all type of shit to get where I had to get to. But at the same time, I always had my headshots with me. Like I was always like 1 foot in, 1 foot out. I did some things illegally. I mean, allegedly illegally under the table to hustle. But I just always knew that this is where I need to be. And I don't think people understand what it takes to be in this entertainment business constantly. Mm-hmm. Some people, they act for a little bit, they rap for a little bit, they sing for a little bit, then they fall off and they come to be constantly working. I don't think people understand the dedication that takes.
Mm. And it's hard, man. If you're out there, you're on TV, you're doing this, you're doing that, you get a role, and then you gotta resort back to a regular job.
Yeah.
Isn't that hard?
It's crazy. It's really crazy. Because there's something bigger for you, but you still got to pay the bills. So, I've one of my worst experiences was I was really heavy in the trenches doing a lot of stuff, and I just took this background role on some commercial. It was a Heineken commercial. And I'm like, it's you said that the money was a nice little check for, and when I got on set, there was 3 people who were like, D, what are you doing here? Oh, that was humiliating. It wasn't just the actors, it was the crew. And like, D, what are you doing background work? I'm like, so that's my last time doing it. I was like, I got to do something else. I gotta, because I resorted, because it was just tough, living in New York sometimes. But that was a reality check for me. I'm like, yeah, nah.
Yeah, sometimes I used to struggle with that, because doing voice acting and voice work, I would have a good stint where, I was like, all right, I'm, a network voice here or doing this or doing that. And then I still got to pay the bills in between those good bookings, right? And for me, it was like, all right, let me just get in my editing bag and try and edit wherever I can, because at least I felt like I was still in the space. But there were times where it was rough, because I was editing and they would hire other voice actors to come in and do stuff. And then I would have to cut their stuff together. And I'm like, damn, I know I could do this. This is me. This is me. You know what I'm saying? But I look at it as it was a breeding ground, right?
Yeah.
I was getting a bird's eye view, a life lesson of a master class in a sense, because I got to see some of the greatest who, do that craft. I got to see them at work. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So for me, it was like, I looked at it as it being a master class, at some point.
That's how I feel. I did some production work for Top Chef. When Mr. T had his like a reality show where he was helping people, like Ayanna save your life. It was Mr. T save your life. Like, what you talking about, fool? So I worked on that, and I did a lot of behind the scenes work, and that gave me a different perspective on the entertainment field. And a lot of times as artists, we just want to be artists, but editing, doing stuff behind the scenes, you like see how the whole business encompasses, how everything encompasses the business, and you're like, oh, okay, there's more than one lane to still get where you got to go. So that was very beneficial for me.
Was there a moment early when early success stopped feeling like it was your success?
Hell nah. Yo, I take every wins, but I don't celebrate the wins like, we popping champagne because it's just par for the course, and I appreciate it. But I don't think it's like anyone else's success. I'm one of those guys who I champion others. So if you become successful, I'm happy for you. My man just won a Grammy, Mad Skills. That's my bro. I've been knowing him for a long time. I'm happy for him. You know what I'm saying? I celebrate him. So I think that success doesn't have to be ownership. It can be fluid.
When you look back on your journey, before acting became the focus, it was music, right?
Yeah.
What did that season teach you that still shows up in your work today?
It's the grind. Like that's where I think my grind kind of really started, because back then we had street teams, putting posters on walls and stuff. Like I used to do them. I put my own poster up, and 5-0 come. You know what I'm saying? It was really like that trench is really believing in yourself and supporting yourself regardless of what anyone else was doing. And it was something I always loved. Music was always a part of my life. It still is. I always, as a kid, I used to, perform as Michael Jackson, singing and doing, I was always performing. So it was part of my existence. But getting into like the rap game and things like that, you also learn that a lot of the stuff that you see is fugazi. So I was like, oh, you really don't have that Bentley. Oh, okay.
How intentional were the shifts between being visible and being quieter for you?
Yeah, I don't know if it's a quiet or being visible I feel like I've evolved to picking and choosing where I want to be, where I want to be seen, where I don't want to be seen. You know, it was a point, like I said, when I was first in New York and Hollywood, and I'm at every event. You know, in New York, we go to 4 or 5 events a night. I'm everywhere, yo. Dennis is everywhere.
Outside for real.
Outside, B, like for real.
Yeah.
And now I'm like, I'm more selective. Like, is it worth me going? Is it worth my energy? What am I gonna gain from it? But the quiet mode, I've always had that dichotomy because you can't be loud all the time. You're gonna get hoarse. You know what I mean? So you gotta regroup. And you know, with me, I started coaching because I was getting inundated by calls of like, yo, Dennis, you know, how's this? And what what's a waiver? And I had all the answers. I'm like, damn, I know a lot of shit. So I put on a workshop. You know, I'm like, I think probably 4 or 5 people, and it was packed, oversold. I'm like, people really want this knowledge. So that's how I started developing, helping other actors and getting into the game.
How important was it for you to do that? At what point did you say, you know what, I really want to do this. I want to help other actors? Because I know you're not just doing it for the money.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
True.
It's your way of playing it forward and giving back, right?
Yeah. Well, you know, I've been through a lot of pitfalls in my career. So if I can help another actor who really wants it avoid those pitfalls, why not? You know, so it just became a situation where I was like, I'm actually good at this. I'm really good at coaching. I'm really good at teaching acting. And it's weird because you look at when I look at my career as an acting coach, there's people that took classes from me that are popping up on stuff. And they're like, yo, Dennis was my first acting coach. I'm like, damn, that's what's up. You know, and so if I can mold people's careers, why not?
You mentioned the pitfalls of acting for you. Were there any moments where you felt like you were misunderstood?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like a lot of people felt like, well, they, you know, that I play hood roles. I'm a gangster. That's all I, you know, and so, and that's how, like, when I auditioned for Notorious, shout out to Twinkie Bird, me and her really got into it because she was like, I mean, you know, your reel's good, but all you play is gangster, blah, 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 blah. And I had to like argue, like, nah, chick, like, that's what I get casted for, but I have a bag of talent. So we argued before I got the audition. I had to like almost not bully her, but you know, we debated, and she finally, okay, all right, I'll let you come in. And then she was like, oh wow. So that's the perception. If you know, in the entertainment field, if you're not svelte, thin, soft-spoken male, that you're black, that you're a criminal, you're a thug, and you know all this. So it's fighting against the stereotypes, but it is what it is.
So that's your identity, right? So what did protecting your identity cost you, and what did it save you?
Well, I've always been revolutionary. Always. I've always been about my people.
I see.
So, oh yeah. Black History Month, but yeah,
for all of those who can't see, well, he got on a dope sweater. Says Freedom Fighter. Freedom Fighters. It has Malcolm X, Marcus Garvey, Huey P. Newton,
Steve Biko
on the chest.
So, as a kid, you know, doing Black History Month, I would be on tour doing, you know, talking about Black history, stuff like that. Always. So if I have to sacrifice certain work because I'm pushing and supporting my people, then so be it. You know, and you know, I had a crazy situation that happened in a cotton field, and
a cotton field. Wait a minute, bro. In modern time, we talking like a cotton field, like.
about 10 years ago
In the South?
in South Carolina, Myrtle Beach.
Wait a minute, bro. You wasn't out there picking cotton. What you mean?
Nah, okay, so what happened was I was on vacation with this shorty, and she never seen real cotton before. So we pulled over to take pictures,
Yeah.
and the 5 came, and they accosted us, handcuffed us, it was just really disrespectful. And we, it was broad daylight, but we was in a cotton field, and another cop car came. It was really, really bad. And so, I wrote about it, just a memoir. I just wrote some stuff, and our assistant sent it to CNN, unbeknownst to us. And it became like the number 3 story on CNN all the time.
Wow.
And so it was crazy.
It's funny you mentioned cotton field because I literally just had a conversation yesterday with a friend of mine about a cotton field because we're working on a production, and we were talking about our experiences, being black in the South and stuff. And he was telling me about how one of his friends wanted to stop and take pictures of a cotton field because she thought it was so beautiful. She had never seen that before. And he was like, you don't want to do that. That's the last thing you want to do because that's private property.
Yeah.
And if they call the cops, it's gonna be a problem.
Where I wasn't even like, it was like a turnoff. It wasn't even like in a it was just weird. It was just, he was just harassing us. And I was on Dr. Phil talking about it in MSNBC. It was a lot of stuff, and it kind of blackballed me in the industry at that time.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I was on NBC. I was on Parenthood on NBC. And when that dropped, my agent left. Representation left. They cut me out of episodes that I filmed and taped.
But why? Because you had an experience in a cotton field? Like a negative experience?
Yeah, because I talked about it. And this was like around, it might have been right before Trayvon Martin. It was during that time. So it was, it was a very hot topic. And they just, like the doors of Hollywood shut down.
Damn.
The air let out. I'm like, oh shit, what the hell?
Just out of nowhere.
Out of nowhere.
Just because you spoke about this one story.
FBI come with us. Take me down to FBI, interrogate me, all type of crazy shit. Because I got racially profiled. You know what I mean?
Wait a minute. So you telling me the FBI showed up at your doorstep because of you being racially profiled and, having a situation in this cotton field?
Technically to interview us to see what happened. But it wasn't that, And it was a big case. It was a big situation. But like I said, people stepped away. And being that it happened in South Carolina, a lot of attorneys in South Carolina didn't want to touch it. They was afraid.
Oh, wow.
They were threatened. So I ended up getting a speeding ticket right before that happened. I was going 35 and a 30. And like maybe 20 minutes before that happened. So I had to go back and handle that ticket.
Yeah.
Everybody was calling my people. Was like, yo, tell Dennis do not come here to pay that ticket because people saying they're going to kill him. I was getting death threats, like for real. People threatening to kill my mom, kill my dad, kill me, like for real. And I'm like, y'all, what up?
Wow.
You know what I mean? Because I knew that I'm standing on was righteous. So I wasn't fearful. But I went, paid that ticket, like what, I wasn't, naked on me. I had, I had it on me. But it's crazy how that was about 10 years ago, how we are revisiting that thing right now in the United States. The racist, the oppression is still prevalent and stronger. So
looking back on that, because it messed with your bag, right?
Yeah.
Because you saw your agent dip on you and, the doors of Hollywood close on you. Looking back, would you do it again?
Hell yeah. Because what it did for me was increase my territory. So I'm like, I can't get bread here in LA. Let me go do a movie in Detroit. Let me do a movie in Chicago. Let me do a movie in Florida. So I started doing movies and projects in different states and really building that territory, building that camaraderie in different states and different people. And then that's when my teaching started doing more. So it helped me expand. Whenever anything in life or anything expands, it's rough, it's tough, it hurts. And it was great for me, and so at the time I didn't appreciate it. At that time I didn't know that it was going to be like that, but now when I look back I was like, hell yeah. That got me out of situations created situations that was going to be beneficial for me.
So how do you branch out? Like, a lot of people think, all right, you got to be in LA, you got to be in New York or Atlanta, one of the three. How do you say, you know what, I'm going to go to Chicago, I'm going to go to Miami, I'm going to go to all these different places and, get on projects there? Do you just show up? Do you reach out on Facebook to people? Like, what does that look like for the actor that is, because this is a major gem you're dropping. I've never heard anybody say, I just went from LA and I just went to other cities and got it popping. Because I think you got something over like 70 credits, right? Over 85 credits.
Yeah.
I looked and I was like, damn, this dude been in a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
But that's from you moving around, right?
Yeah.
So how does one do that?
By making yourself accessible and not being afraid to do something else. And I've always traveled. With my mom, she was like in the gospel world, so I traveled with her. I used to tour this gospel artist on John P. Key. I was on the Chitlin circuit doing plays. Good Man's Hard to Find, all those Chitlin circuit plays. I did a run. So that was the grassroots aspects of it. So I build connections with people in different cities. So I'm like, yo, someone's doing a film in Chicago. I'm like, yo, I come to Chicago. What's your budget? And let's do it, because I know that I'm building my brand, my repertoire. I'm learning different parts of the country. I'm learning. I did a movie called Dreams, RIP with Tommy Ford, during that time, and it was just a blessing, And so I always feel like, as an artist, you have to touch different people. You can't just touch your people that are just like you, because your reach is gonna be small.
So wait a minute. You said you toured with your mom when you were growing up? She was an artist, or
she was a writer. So we do the workshops, gospel music workshops, all over the country, and a lot of she's written for a lot of great gospel artists, from John P. Key to James Cleveland to Hezekiah Walker to so on and so on. So I was always in that space with her, and so I learned how to maneuver.
Wow. So you grew up around excellence.
Yeah.
You grew up around excellence.
Yeah.
How did that shape you, in your career today, dealing with pressure, growing up with that level of excellence,
It gave me a bird's eye view of the entertainment industry, and not in it. I could watch and see things that happen and learn and get poured into that way. And then my father was in the military, so it was a whole different. That was the other side of it. So had a great balance.
I think that's dope, man. And I think that shows up in your work, right? Going from city to city, having that experience early. That's why it's good that we get our young people involved as early as possible.
Yeah.
I'm a firm believer in that. You know what I mean? I don't believe in necessarily the conventional way of doing things. Oh, you got to do this. Yeah. You got to, get your good grades, this and that. Listen, if you have it in you, and if you grow up around it, and this is the path you want to go for it. You know what I mean? Because that's what shapes you for the later part of life. You know what I mean? At this stage, what do you feel you're responsible for passing on?
Integrity, work ethic, and community. there's roles that I won't play. You'll never see me play.
Like?
Just roles you'll never see me play. That I've turned down and I will never play those type of characters. Integrity, work ethic. I'm gonna be hustling. I'm going to, Will Smith said one of the dopest things. He said, you could look better than me, you could be stronger than me, you could be smarter than me, but you can't beat me on the treadmill because I'm not giving up. I was like, that's dope. And I'm not giving up. Like, in this 30-day span of today, I have 5 projects coming out, like right now. And it's not because, it's not a brag or a flex. It's just because I want to have a legacy. When I pass away, I want people to be like, yo, Dennis did his thing. R.I.P. my man, Damien Wilson, my big homie, my big brother, my advisor, my OG, R.I.P. He always poured into me and said, Dennis, you got that. He said, you got that stuff, D. You got that shit. Go and get it. And when you have people that you look up to give you that rite of passage, you got to follow through with it. Because I feel like I'm bringing up actors. I want people like, yo, who did you work with? Man, Dennis L.A. White. I was working at a valet at a store or at a restaurant, and I saw him, and I told him I want to act, and he put me on. That happens. I do that. So I want to pass the baton to people and be instrumental in people's life.
What do younger actors misunderstand about patience?
Fucking everything. They want it right now. And microwave actors. That's what I call them. Microwave ass actors.
Say it again.
Microwave ass actors. They want that shit right now. Not now, but right now. They don't want to take no classes. They don't want to get proper headshots. They don't want to get set up for the, when they do cell tapes. They don't want to have to get a ring light. They just want it. They want it right now, right now, right now. And because we are living in a situation where there's so many avenues for whether social media, different platforms from Tubi to Fawsome to, it's all these platforms. It's like it's like the drug game. It's like when you get a brick and it's raw and it gets stepped on. You keep adding stuff and stepping on it. That's what's been happening a lot in this entertainment field. The town has been stepped on. And so it's like, of course, it's been stepped on, so you have more and it's flooded. But that real shit is what everybody really, really wants. So I could tell in the one scene if an actor is good, if he's done his work, if he studied, or if it's like, nah, that ain't it. So a lot of these actors don't want to get that structure, and they don't study the greats. I mean, growing up, I watched the greats. Louis Armstrong. I watched, just so many. I watched older movies and learned from watching them and how they do things and reenacting those things. But they don't have, a lot of these young kids don't, or young actors don't do that. Their span is from 5 years ago or 3 years ago. They don't have a vast knowledge of this business, and you have to understand where you going. You got to find out where you've been.
Microwave actors.
Microwave ass actors, yeah.
What advice do you no longer give?
Free. No, I get a lot of people like, yo, D, help me up or show me this. I'm like, bro, I coach acting. Take some classes. You're investing in yourself. I'm good at it. If you take a class from me and you pay for my class and you don't get nothing out of my class, I'll give you your bread back. That has never happened. So that's what I don't. That's it.
You got to invest in yourself, man. You know, last year alone, I spent, I think it was $35,000 in mentorship.
Yeah.
You know, and investing in myself, whether that's, you know, taking voiceover classes, acting classes. These are the things you have to do, you know? Every time I took an acting class or a voiceover class, I booked something bigger. There was one point where I wasn't booking anything. And then I took that class, and then I booked the TV One, Hershey's, or whatever, and take another class, and I booked something else. So there's something to be said about investing in yourself, because sometimes you don't see the things that you're doing that are mistakes, you know?
And it's also being around people, like-minded people, people that are doing what you want to do. So that energy permeates through them and to you. So, I tell people when I was in New York, I was paying $500 a class for coaching.
Yep.
And people were like, oh, you was paying that much for a class?
Yeah.
I said, yeah, but I started booking. And the person I was taking classes with, she would be like, yo, I got this actor. He's great. Put him in your movie. It was working.
Yep.
So, like you said, it was an investment. And I took it off of my taxes. But, you know what I mean? It was, you got to invest in your business. As an actor, your business.
What's the role that introduced you to a wider audience?
The Brave One.
Really?
Yeah. That was because during that time I was, I did Fuse, which was I got a nice audience with that. And I did some independent films, but when I did The Brave One and with Jodie Foster, it opened up everything. That's how I even got Notorious. And my scene, I didn't have like a big part, but it was in the trailer, and they played that trailer during the Super Bowl. I was like, woo!
We out of here.
And Jodie was like, you made the trailer, huh? Congratulations.
Jodie Foster.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. She was like, I hope this does something amazing for your career.
Wow.
And it did. And so that movie, even Robert Downey Jr., his wife produced the movie. And that gave me a whole new perspective on acting, because he came up to me. He knew my name.
Robert Downey Jr. came up to you?
What?
Wow.
And he broke down my character. Hey, yo, Dennis, I really love your character. You're my favorite character in the whole movie. The way that you held the knife. Like, he just broke down everything. And I'm like, I didn't think about that. I just thought it was cool to lick the knife. You know what I mean? And I was like, oh, that's why he is who he is, because he takes the levels and levels and levels. So I started implementing that. Same thing with Jodie Foster. Me and my the other actor, we on the train, we rehearsing, chilling, laughing, and I see her, and she's focused. I'm like, damn, she's making $17 million off this movie. I'm not making nothing close to that. I need to be just as focused, because I got a scene with her. She was in the zone, so I got in the zone. The other guy was talking, people laughing. I'm like, nah, I'm over here. I'm watching. I'm getting ready. And that's why our scene was so intense. So, I feel like when you work with people, you gotta let them rub off on you. Pause. Pause. But you gotta get their energy and learn from them by not just by, well, tell me what to do, by watching.
Still sharp as steel.
All the time.
What did that moment teach you about momentum and anchoring yourself?
That this business is what have you done for me lately? Ooh, yeah. Because you could be at your premiere and they're like, yo, so what's next? What's next? Let's talk about this. So it's always perpetual. You always got to keep moving. You can't be stagnant in this business, because that moment of time fades. It just does. It might get revisited, have a little glimmer later, maybe not, but you gotta stay perpetual, and you can't rest on your laurels. That was a great project for me. Notorious was an amazing project for me, but I'm not going around saying, I don't want to be like, oh yeah, I mean, I did Notorious. Nigga, how long ago that was? What's next? What are you doing now? What'd you have come out last year? Last month? I want to say active. You think about Kevin Hart. Man, that little niglet is busy. You know what I mean? He is busy, and not because.
Why you gotta be a little nigga?
Hey, I don't know. That's what he is. You know what I mean? Enough respect. But I met Kevin long time ago, well over 20 years, on a movie called Death of a Dynasty. And it was about Jay-Z and Dame Dash having beef and breaking up. You remember that movie?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't think it ever came out in theaters. It was like on YouTube. It's crazy. But I did a lot of stuff on there. And that's when I first saw him. I didn't know who this kid was, but he stayed busy. He stays working because he loves what he does. Mm-hmm. And I tell people, one thing I tell my actors, like, yo, the worst thing in the world is to want to be a ballet dancer and you work on appliances and you never got a chance to dance for ballet, even if it's regional theater. The worst thing in the world is to be an insurance agent, but you want to sing opera and you never been on stage to sing opera. You don't have to be on, the biggest stage, but just not living out your dreams. That's a travesty.
You got a gift. You should, if you have a God-given gift, you got to share it with the world.
You have to. And it's not even so much sharing it with the world. Mm-hmm. It's satisfying your soul. Because your soul is on unrest, uneasy when you're not pursuing that. So, that's how I am. Like, in the next 2 or 3 years, I'm going to have an OnlyFans page and be stripping for old midgets.
What's wrong with you, bro? For old midgets is wild.
But yeah, you gotta live out your dreams, man. You gotta pursue it. Whatever you want to do it. Unless you like over 45, stop rapping, B. Nah, it's playing. Nah, but seriously,
real. Stop. I was with my boy earlier, and he's 50, and he's writing now. He's writing raps. You know what I mean? Yeah. He's embracing AI to do that, and he's writing some dope music. But he's not out there trying to be on the microphone at 50 years old.
I mean, look, I'm not saying you can't do that, but your subject matter has to be relevant.
Exactly.
You can't be like, 50 years old talking about, I was on the block selling rocks.
No.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, my guy Low, man, I didn't realize he was as nice with the pen as he is. I listened to like 10 tracks earlier today, and I was like, damn, this is dope. Yeah. You know what I mean? So sometimes you got to realize there is a lane there for you, but it might not be that.
I mean, there should be a contemporary rap lane. I mean, I think that's something that needs to be put in there. You see De La Soul dropped the album, LL dropped the album. These older artists are dropping really good projects.
Dope projects, yeah.
Yeah, so I think there is a lane. There's that for rock and R&B and stuff like that. It should be the same thing for hip hop.
Yeah, because you get finer with time. You know what I'm saying? Better with time.
Yeah.
And that's why we see some of these dope projects coming out. You ever see yourself getting back into music?
I see myself. I see it. But I don't know. I mean, I thought about it. People send me stuff, and but I don't know if I have the time to really dedicate everything to it, because I don't want to come out and be like, oh, that's whack, B. Oh, hell no. Trash. Like, so I'm very particular, but I feel like there is another project in me. I don't know if it's like just full out rap. I don't know what it is yet. That's why I really applaud Matt Skills, because he took it in the poetry. and still, spitting. It's still dope, but it's grown man. I respect that.
That's dope, man. What does a good season of life look like now for you?
Yeah, good season. Season, what, 3 months, right?
Mm-hmm.
Some bomb ass residual checks, which we don't really get so much anymore, but some bomb ass residual checks. Being around family, somewhere warm, and working on projects that I really love, that really challenges me. That's what that is.
Dope. What do you protect now more fiercely than you did 20 years ago?
My peace, my quietness. I enjoy being at home. It used to rack my brain. I'm like, I don't want. I need to be somewhere. Let me fly somewhere. When I was doing Fuse, we got off the air at 7 p.m. on Friday. I was on a 9:30 flight to Miami every weekend, partying. Come back Monday morning, go back to work. I had to, but now I'm like, I'm cool at being home. I'm cool with being solitary and doing the stuff I need to do on the side. So that's what I protect, my peace, and my privacy too. But I've always been kind of private. Like, people know, but they don't know. And I appreciate that. That's why I move around in different cities and states. We talked about, how I can do that. I'm a local hire in like 25 cities at least.
Wow.
So it's like I can go somewhere like, nah, I don't need a hotel. You could pay for the hotel, give me the bread, but I'm staying with my cousin. I'm staying with Shorty or whatever. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I enjoy to traveling, but I also enjoy being solitary.
Mm. And how do you know when something's aligned for you versus it just being exciting?
Because my spirit is uneasy. Mm-hmm. And if it wears thin, it's kind of like a Tootsie Pop, it's sweet, and then you get in like, I don't want that gummy. I just want the, so I'm pause. But anyway, oh, old dirty bastard. I got a crazy old dirty bastard story, but anyway.
I heard. Let me hear your old dirty bastard story. What's your story?
So this was in Miami. This was a long, long time ago, before I was even really, really in the industry like that. I met up with DJ Alamo from Brand Nubians, and we were going to a party. Uncle Luke had a party. So me, him, Lord Jamal, Sadat X, we go, and it's crazy. Wu-Tang is there, all these people, celebrities there. They're not letting nobody in. So we rush the back door. Boom, I'm underage. Boom, we rush the back door. We in, chilling. Everybody's in this mug. See Dougie Fresh in the VIP. And so I'm just like, yo, I'm walking in. They wouldn't let me in VIP. Mm-hmm. This dude, Dollar Bills, shout out to Dollar Bills. He was like, yo, let him in. Came in, what's up, young fella? How you doing? Want some champagne? Chilling, blah, blah, blah. Just took me underneath his wings. Come on, we about to go on stage.
What?
This is a club, though. It's a club.
Right.
All right.
Yeah.
I walked with him on stage. They set up 2 chairs. No, it's like 3 chairs. We sit in 2 chairs. We drinking champagne. I think Kid Capri's DJing. And Kid Capri's like, yo, we got Akinelli coming to the stage. Yo, put in your mouth, about to come in. The crowd, ah. And somebody's like, yo, that nigga Akinelli. Right? So I'm thinking it's part of the show. 5 minutes later, yo, Akinelli about to come on stage. That nigga Akinelli. And someone comes on stage with a hoodie on, and he's like, oh. It's old dirty, right?
What?
So the crowd go banoodles. So Akinelli come on stage, was like, yo, nigga, that shit ain't funny. So they start fighting on stage.
ODB and Akinelli?
Wu comes on. Akinelli, you know, he lives in Florida, so all the Florida dudes come, they fighting on stage. In the middle of the fight, they're, So I'm gonna say, like, what the hell is going on? So they break up the fight. Akinelli, you know, putting him out, he rapping. And there's these dudes, some Florida dudes, you could tell they dark skinned, skinny, had dreads, you know what I'm saying? They chilling on the side. Dirty's like, what? And he like swing, boom. Shot him in the leg, boom, boom. They shooting up the whole club. I'm on stage, like I'm here. It's like right about 3 or 4 feet from me.
What?
So it's crazy. I get on the ground. People are jumping on the cash register, taking money. It was just pandemonium, right? So after the shooting stopped and you know every kind of ran out, people ran out. I got up, was leaving and everything. Like, dang, I go back to the hotel, and I left my wallet.
At the club?
At the club.
Come on, bro.
So I'm like, man, I got to get back to the hotel. So Dollar Bills had Houdini. They had a limo. Mm-hmm. They drove me back to the hotel to go get my wallet. Police, the tape and all that shit. And they was like, you can't. I'm like, man, my wallet in here. I got to get in there. Went in. It was just crazy. That was the craziest night.
Wow. That's wild, bro.
My life has always been a situation where people saw a glimmer of hope with me and bring me in. You know what I mean? Like me and Dollar Bills, we still cool to this day. Mm-hmm. OG from New York. But and that's how me and Dougie Fresh became real good friends. Mm-hmm. So,
Same here. That's been a lot of my story, man. I heard a crazy story of Will Smith, with you and Will Smith, where you were interviewing him or something, or you was talking to him.
Yeah, so that's when he did the movie Hitch. Mm-hmm. And the red carpet and the screening premiere was at Ellis Island, New York. So I was working at Weekend Vibe. And so we were doing a red carpet. You know how it is on a red carpet. The bigger publications are front.
Yep.
We were only black publication. So they had us all the way to the back. They was hated. I was pissed. They was really like sunning us. So, you know, we do some interviews. So Will and Jada's walking down and they wouldn't let them interview us. And Jada was like, nah, that's Vibe. We got to do that. I'm like, whoo. So she brought Will over. I'm talking to Will, interviewing him, and this dude spit on me.
Whoa.
While he was talking. And I act like it didn't happen.
Did it like just on your face? Or?
No, it was on my shirt. It was boosh. I'm like, this dude just spit on me. But I didn't say anything. I kept on with the interview and you know.
Professional. And
he was like, wait, hold on. You just gonna act like I ain't spit on you and you keep going, talking. That's mad professional. Yo. I'm like, I'm about to sell this spit on eBay. So don't even worry about that. And but he was cool, you know what I'm saying? He laughed and everything and that really made the show. And, you know, after party, once again, they wouldn't let us up to the after party. Paul Mooney, RIP Paul Mooney, was like, nah, he's coming in. Or nobody's getting in. Like, he was gangster with it. Mm-hmm. And we party and everything. And, you know, Will and Jazzy Jeff performed. And, you know, and it was a great night.
So this happened to me before. Ice-T. But he comes down and I'm interviewing him and I'm like, damn, I'm interviewing Ice-T. You know what I'm saying? Like, legendary. During the middle of the interview, projectile leaves from his mouth and hits me right in my face. Bro.
Wow.
And it's in the middle of the interview. And it was like right here. Right? And I was like, my first instinct was to be like,
yeah. Hell yeah.
But I just kept it rolling.
Okay.
You know, I kept it rolling as a professional.
Oh.
It's hard out
Did
on
he
the
say
front
anything
line.
to you?
No,
about
he didn't.
Oh.
No.
Oh. Yeah,
I got the tape and you can see it on tape.
You need to pause that on slow motion.
Yeah. So we both had these are the front lines when you're on the red carpet.
Man,
these are the things that you
crazy.
you
Like
know.
me and Ice-T, man, we got in a fight, not with each other. You remember a rock group called Good Charlotte?
Yeah.
So they was with me, this club called Suede in New York. Remember Suede? Justin Timberlake used to own it. So me, Good Charlotte, and my co-host Marinella in there. Ice-T is in there. So me and him talk. He sit me down. You know, he pouring, talking pimp shit to me and everything. And he gets up.
He's spitting.
Getting up. He gets up and grab this dude and like, yo, get the fuck on. And come back down, not missing the beat. I'm like, what the hell is going on?
Ice-T?
Yeah.
Real OG.
So I'm like, okay. We talk 5 more minutes. He gets up again, grabs another guy, punches the guy, right?
Wait a minute, bro. What are you talking about? Just random? Like
random. So dude's like, what? So I get up too. I'm with him like, yo. And so the club owner comes and it's just like panel. He got his wife there. His wife had this other bad chick with her, and homegirl Medina. It was just, it was crazy panel. So Ice left out and everything. Me and the dude tussled. So we leaving. The dude's outside. I was like, yo, man, why Ice punched me, man? So we was about to get into it too, but it didn't happen. Good Charlotte was with me. They was shook though. Them white boys were scared. Yeah, we would have. I wasn't gonna do nothing. So I never knew what happened. 3 years later. 3 or 4 years later, I did an episode on Law and Order, and Ice was on there. So I like, yo, Ice, man, what was that about? He was like, the dude was standing behind Coco and was trying to put his hand underneath her skirt.
Oh yeah, he got everything he deserved.
Everything.
Yeah.
But Coco was behind him, like his peripheral was crazy. And then the other guy tried. So I was like, damn, I didn't know, but he was just aware of everything, man. Shout out to Ice.
Yeah, big shout outs to Ice-T. You know what I'm saying? For sure, man. Good brother. We do something here on the show. It's called Keys to the Street.
Okay.
It's my version. It's my version. Keys dropping gems. My version of dropping gems.
Okay.
Based on everything that you've lived and learned, what are your keys to the street that you want to drop on anybody that's watching or listening right now?
Go after your dreams. Protect your family. Protect your spirit. Give grace to other people. And love life. You got to give grace to certain situations, to people, because you never know what anyone is dealing with. You might meet them in a point of that day where they just lost a family member or anything. So give them grace. Protect your peace, and whatever peace that is, protect that. So you have that. You can always go back to that. Protect your family, and family doesn't have to be blood. It's just people that care for you or you care about. Protect them. Have that safe space so that they can feel comfortable to tell you what's really what and what's really not. And pursue your dreams. Like, go after it. Eddie Murphy said there was no plan Bs. Some of us have to have some plan Bs. But if you really want it, there are no plan Bs.
Which one of those keys did you learn the hard way?
Grace, giving people grace. Cause I was a hothead. I would flick off, and there's a lot of people that almost got it. You know what I mean? And I had to understand that the repercussions are worse than the satisfying that moment of appeasement. So I had to kind of learn that, giving people grace. Because if not, then this interview would never happen. I'd be incarcerated. You know what I mean? Because there's a lot of people I wanted to put hands on, but I had to learn, like, for what? yeah, you show them, but now, the repercussions are worse. So that's I learned that a hard way. Not enough to where it became detrimental, but I had to learn that.
Mm-hmm. If you could sit with the version of yourself I interviewed 20 years ago, what would you tell him and what would you try not to change?
I would have told him to pull out.
What?
Yo, dog, wear a condom tonight, son. Wear a condom tonight, B. Matter of fact, don't even do that. Let's get some brain and be out. And what was the second half of that question?
What would you try not to change?
That's real spit. I put it on everything. Moving to New York. That was amazing for me.
Yeah.
I learned how to struggle. I learned how to survive. I learned how to be my own person.
In New York. Yeah. Same here, man. Same here. Moving to New York was one of the best moves I could ever make. I moved here from Boston.
Okay.
And New York is a great city. It's a great city.
Yeah. I would never move back to New York unless I had $275.3 million. .2, I couldn't do it, but .3. But I love New York. That's my favorite city in the world. But that really taught me everything. That made me my career started in New York. Everything. I have reverence for New York. And, for me, the people that I met during that time, they're very proud of me because they know the publicists, they know like Dennis the Menace is not on no list here, dog. Your name is not on here. Just let me walk the carpet. Let me talk about my new single or whatever. You know what I mean? From doing Say What karaoke on MTV. It was just a great stomping grounds for me. And so, yeah, that was I would never change that.
What are you most curious about in this next chapter of life for you?
I don't know if I walk with curiosity. I'm not a curious person. That's how you get in those those freak offs when you're curious and go in the door. It's like, what? Oh, snap. Now you can't leave. You know what I mean? So I'm not a curious dude. So I'm not curious about what's going to happen in the next chapter. I'm walking in love and receptive of great energy. And, I've grown accustomed to randomly like, God, thank you. Not for any particular, not because I got something, just thank you. I'll be driving like, Lord, thank you for this, for where I am right now and what you have in store. So I'm receptive to the greatness, and not afraid of it. So yeah, that's what it is.
Dope. Bro, I appreciate you for coming through today, man, and taking the time to come down and key it up with me. I'm happy that we were able to do this 20 years later.
I know, right?
You know what I'm saying? And I'm proud to see where your career went and everything that you have done and all the films that you've been in and the teaching and all of that. Is there anything you want to plug? You have your teaching school. Where can people check that out at? If they want to book classes with you, your next projects you got coming up. Now's the time. Let's do it.
Sure. My site is called atlikeyouKnow.org. I do private coaching. I created this amazing thing called CAMP, Celebrity Actors Mentorship Program, where we post and give auditions and castings to actors and a lot of other stuff for them to build their careers. And then once a month we have a celebrity come in and just chop it up. Last night we had Carl Payne. We had Corey Hardwick. We've had so many great people. We have Tressa Smallwood, the owner of Megamind Media. Amazing Woman coming next month. I'm co-producing this documentary called The Baristas vs. the Billionaires. It's about the Starbucks workers getting unionized. These 8 or 9 workers from Buffalo started the first union, and now it's like 500 unions across the country. It's been, protesting. Me, Mark Morey, Alec Baldwin are producers on that. Susan Sarandon is our narrator. Such a great project. So I definitely want people to watch out The Baristas vs. the Billionaires. I did say I have 5 projects that came out. New Cycle is on Tubi. Whispers in the Pines. To Be or Not to Be. Love Don't Pay the Bills. And The Handyman. That's all out right now.
Wow.
Crazy.
Work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, my social media is Dennis L.A. White. You can follow me there. My OnlyFans is Dennis L.A. White. Big time. Nah, I'm just playing. I don't have OnlyFans. But
dancing for midgets.
But yeah, minutes for midgets. Yeah. But yeah, so I mean that's it. And I appreciate people that support me and that love my work. And I'm gonna keep going.
Dope.
I'm gonna be 85 years old, on set, filming, producing, whatever. This is my life goal.
Dope. Well, yo, thanks for coming through, bro.
Thanks for having me, man.
Appreciate you.
No doubt.
Word.